Hi everyone and welcome to another cybersecurity video. I'm Kieron Newsham, Chief Technologist of Cybersecurity at Softcat, and I've got my good friend Gary Hawkins with me. Gary, do you want to do a quick introduction, my friend?
Hi, Gary Hawkins, Chief Technologist for Data, Platform and Cloud. Good to be here.
Wicked, it's great to have you, my friend. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Would love to hear your thoughts and some answers from you. First one, mate, your favourite, data governance. We both know that data governance is much more than just backup, immutability, recovery. There's been a much more of an emphasis on data governance due to artificial intelligence, due to a lot of cyber breaches being, affecting backups and things like that. How has this affected the world of immutable backup, air gapping, recoverability, all those sorts of things?
Well, I definitely share your same concern around facing data governance and the complexity around it. And I think in the face of the AI explosion, I think it has to be done in parallel. So there's a lot of customers are seeing backup, restore, ransomware as a technology platform. I think they're missing the gap between how do we turn that data lifecycle management process into more innovative business strategic views. So there's a bringing together the cultural shift within customers. There's understanding that there is a place for technology, but it's a bit like security. Everything's layered from the customer to the infrastructure to the edge, and how the consumers and the branding and the go-to-market strategies. So where I'm seeing most of it are getting customers to understand the regulations, the risks, the need to have quality data, the need to align with the IT teams and the C-suite to be able to understand how they can use that insight and move it forward. So ultimately, that's easier said than done. There's many areas that Softcat can help in that journey, but I think it's bringing everybody on board before they all rush into the AI area and work out how that compliance, because we go from data governance to AI governance, which is also going to be even more and in your world with security, with all the regulations that are coming, I can imagine it's a shared concern, but one I think Softcat are very well fitted and suited to be able to help.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. I mean, in the same vein then, as we're on artificial intelligence, my friend, Gen AI has obviously exploded in the last sort of 18 months or so. How do you see that affecting what you would probably class as traditional on-prem infrastructure, hosting, data center stuff? Is that accelerating the move to cloud? Is that accelerating private cloud, public cloud? How's that working?
Increasing operational efficiency is always a big ask for IT. Moving workloads, understanding how to move them, whether it's on-prem to cloud, is critical. But behind every business outcome is an application, and underpinned by that application is data. So the first step is to help with data governance, centralize, help build the data lakes, the data hubs, help classify, understand why that data needs to be understood by all areas of the business, as protection from employees, from IT, and from data analytics. If you've got that centralization, you're then looking at the traditional server sprawl. So building full stack hyper-converged infrastructure is another way, because all the partners that we work where they sell infrastructure are now working very well with the hyperscalers. So they're trying to work collaboratively to say, if your data sits at the center, we've optimized your server stack, we've got your storage that's giving the right automation of data. We can now work with the cloud hyperscalers, which is where the whole observability starts to come in. How do you collapse moving workloads, whether on-prem to data to edge, upskilling the IT team, becoming more innovative, moving it where they need to and back again, and optimizing and moving that cost model, which we're seeing not in all areas, from a CapEx heavy investment to a pay-as-you-grow OpEx model. So absolutely, HCI has a place. We sell it in Softcat around storage-defined, software-defined storage, but we can absolutely play in all the areas. And so basically taking the customers on a journey, because it is a journey, and it's one that plays very well to the way that we go to market currently.
Love the answers to those first two questions. I think the main thing that we are trying to encompass around data security and a lot of the things that we've talked about already is a concept called operational resilience. Operational resilience is a cultural shift that brings in a more of a business level perspective with a big cyber lens on it as well, than we traditionally did with business continuity and disaster recovery. How is that affecting your world, mate? Because we're going in.
Whenever you talk about a new regulation, you put a timeline on it, so January 2025, everybody hopes that they've always got time. So the more you mention it and the more you start to bring in new services and what the trends are, the more they see the correlations. So data, the way you transform, the way you manage and manipulate the way that your processes are is critical. So we've started on the disaster recovery. We've started on the backup restore, but with an overlying or an underpinning data governance as to why. And it's not just about inferring it into AI, it's about using that data that protects you. It's very much in protecting your own employees. And we've seen that customers now are starting to put their own internal trainings for their staff, making sure they understand the importance of why they need to follow the process. And I think things like immutability, so you're right, we're looking at how do you air gap, backup and archive as part of disaster recovery.
Sure.
At the same time, you have to operationally reduce that footprint because people don't want to pay more because of a regulation. So it's thinking and working smarter. So having ransomware, having immutability, having it optimized is one very simple way of starting. But I think what you then have to do is look at DORA, the operational resiliency around what it specifically says, and then map it to both the processes, the environment under which they manage their applications, and then how do they well adhere. We can't be responsible for their data, but we can be responsible for helping them understand the tick boxes in what will protect them and what they may need to work towards as a different way of working. So it's like the same old adage, you know, DevSecOps don't want the sec in the middle of it because it's a governance that they don't really like, but companies need to be aware. And I think we've started on this journey before DORA actually got initially launched. And I think we'll continue doing that and underpinning it so that at any point we look at modernizing, any point we look at governance, any point we look at how we use innovation, always bring the security layering because it's everywhere, always bring the regulation side and make sure that our teams are able to have that conversation to tag it back and keep them safe.
Wicked, yeah, that is fantastic, mate. I think to summarise, if I can, those three really interesting questions and topics that we've covered, I think the first one around data governance, it's something that we have to do and have to genuinely move on now in terms of operationally go and do something about it. It's not just a pocketed project around data loss prevention. It's not just looking at data archiving, data lifecycle. It's all of those things with a really big lens in terms of a security focus. How are we mapping that to legislation, regulation, standards? We talked about how on-premise and traditional storage and compute has been affected by not only just we've had iterative moves to cloud, to and from cloud, public cloud, private cloud, whatever it may be, but the impending generative AI boom and how people and organisations are going to take advantage of that and what that will do for infrastructure or modern infrastructure and how that's modernised. And then last but not least, probably my personal favourite is operational resilience, which is effectively moving what we've put onto IT in the past and called business continuity and disaster recovery planning into a more business level enterprise risk focus where we don't just do backup and immutability, but we look at all of the things we must do within InfoSec, we look at supply chain and we do continuous testing and we link business critical processes into an operational resilience strategy. Fantastic, my friend. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for watching and we'll see you again soon.